Alright. So, best of 5 TVZ. Bottom left, it is Reynor. Top right of Hardwired is HeRoMaRinE. Both of these guys are going to IM Katowice, as is Clem, who awaits one of them in the finals. So, we might not be seeing 100% from everyone here today from here on out. Not that I think we ever see 100% on an Open Cup anyways. What's nice about these Open Cups is that I think we get like 80 to 90%, which is to mean, one, like a variety of build orders. I think we do see people experiment with things because it's such a great playing ground because people take it pretty seriously. It's not just another Open Cup. It's got good money. It does, in season, have EPT points. And it's a competition with a lot of good competitors playing, as opposed to just like, okay, me and one other guy. And then the rest of them are silver, you know? So, yeah, build orders are actually shown and used. So we don't just have people hiding it all the time. And I think we have occasionally people who actually take it as a kind of a, you know, mark of pride to win. So they put in just kind of that extra bit of effort, you know what I mean? We saw it in Last Chance where a lot of players who wouldn't usually be known for being fantasy GGers, GGing very late into their death, suddenly become those guys down to 2 SCVs, and that's when they tap out type of situation. I think it's because they really start to care. And I think we have a little bit more of that in the Open Cups too. But I think, you know, it's still not going to be the same as a really big, prestigious tournament. It's definitely, none of these things have been the same as an offline tournament. That is absolutely the truth. None of these tournaments have been the same as hearing the crowd and feeling the crowd. Like, it is just so different. But since we've had to do away with that for a while, I'm going to say like 80 to 90% for a lot of these players in these tournaments. I do think that when we get to really big tournaments that are up and coming, that you see players kind of pull back sometimes. They'll go down to set 80 and below because they will hide builds. And that is, I guess, majorly what I'm thinking is that we're going to see some hidden builds. We're going to see builds that are pretty bread and butter because they're actually working on something elsewhere in custom games, you know? And they don't want to reveal exactly what they're doing. I still think they're going to put in probably the same amount of effort and they're going to attain the same amount of honor as they did previously on these Open Cups. But I do think we see a slight pullback because at the end of the day, Katowice is so much more important. But obviously there's a very drastic difference between a guy like Reynor, who probably is going to play 80-90% still. He's confident, he's maybe even cocky, right, to some people, but he's confident in his play, he's confident in himself, he's confident in probably even the race to a degree, so a little more flexible, kind of reactive, right? And Cyril, who never plays in these Open Cups, and is probably trying to hide all of the strats possible. And when I'm talking strats, I'm not talking like difference of playing bio versus mech, I'm talking like, well, I don't want people to pick up on the fact that my queen always goes over to the left instead of the right, you know? But yeah, I still think we'll see a little bit of a pullback. If HeRoMaRinE does a 3cc Helene Liberator stim build every single game, it'd be like, probably because Katowice is coming up. Just throwing it out there. Because to be honest, there's not much else to talk about. TVZ, we know it as a matchup that is, it's different varieties, different builds, up until about 5 minutes, yeah, sure. 3cc, 2cc, Liberator, Banshee, Hellbats, Hellions, you know, there's a lot of differences in TVZ. We expect it to be a matchup that doesn't have a lot of happening in the first 5 minutes. The cheeses and all-ins have been reduced, I think, a decent amount, especially from the Zerg side. Zerg side is just kind of reacting appropriately and trying to get away with as much feud as possible. So we had to fill the time in somehow. And you guys have probably been bored to tears by the amount of times we'll go over what the difference is between a 3cc and a 2cc. What do Banshees help with? Why wouldn't you get Banshees? Hey! That queen had transfuse. She still has a transfuse. Reynor's not paying attention on the front lines. That queen absolutely could have helped one of her buddies, at least for a little while. And the rest of these queens took their sweet time getting their butts over there. Reynor was focusing on denying the Liberator 100%, which looks like he did. Liberator didn't do any damage, but the Hellions killing 2 queens, well, that's something a lot more than a Terran would ever expect. Reynor's creep spread is still a bit out of control. I mean, it was kind of out of control even before the queens died. It's already midway through the map. That's pretty impressive, I'm not gonna lie. The secondary lane of attack, you know, over here and over here, not as good, but still pretty good creep spread. He did build a decent number of queens, but it's, maybe that's something he's been working on. HeRoMaRinE didn't really do a whole lot to stop it, to be fair, but there's not really a whole lot a Terran can usually do except try and distract. So the Hellions, they can clear up all they want. Queens are still alive. Most of the queens are still alive anyways. And they're quick to replanting them. So the Liberator maybe misses a, you know, creep spread cycle. The Hellions killing the queens might have missed a creep spread cycle. It's still a lot of creep spread. HeRoMaRinE is not going to be following up with the quickest little attack here. Probably just going to get his medevacs out, pick up the 16 Marines, and then probably just start clearing up creep, actually. I don't think he'll try and drop anything super serious. Oh. Nah, he did try and go to the main. Okay, I take it back. But even a single Spore Crawler is actually really annoying. Oh, he's including the Hellbats in this, so he's actually copying time a little bit here. No, he actually just had such fast 1-1. Damn. Damn. Alright then. His 1-1 is done. His armory was probably just on par with making 2-2, which is now late, to be fair. So the Hellbats were included. That doesn't mean you want Banelings to help out. Fortunately, Reynor had them. Clearing out now the other drop. This one going for the creep spread. HeRoMaRinE probably just gonna go drop left, drop right, creep spread, creep spread, creep spread, see if you can attack any, you know, base that's open. Sure, why not? But not many of them are really that open. And then 4th CC back at home. There it is. 8-minute 4th CC, not 7-minute, which I think is the fastest, or 6:30 is the fastest, but still. Very much late game TPC headed our way. Reynor is clearly adding things he hasn't added previously in big tournaments. Like DreamHack Winter, that's the season. Winter. His creep spread, I want to say, is better. And not just because HeRoMaRinE's build choice, but also these additional Spore Crawlers. One Spore Crawler is surprisingly annoying for a Terran. If you don't play Terran, you won't understand how annoying it is to send a medevac over a single Spore Crawler. If you play Zerg, it feels like it does nothing. If you play Terran, it feels like it does everything. But to actually build basically a missile turret ring, that is a new addition, I think, for Reynor, who is handling these drops and these pushes rather well, by the way, so I'm not even trying to hype them up because they are being handled. It's not a question of whether HeRoMaRinE takes a good engagement by the looks of things, it's a question of did he actually kill a lot of creep spread before he was forced to evacuate. And he's kind of stopping the flow. But he's not really doing anything more. He's not really pushing into the creep spread so much. I guess he does finally clean up this big region, so that's decent, but there's still so much. I would say this is more cute than anything else, but this is eventually going to get really annoying for Reynor. The fact that Marines could fully unload here without his knowledge and blitz into his 3rd, that's scary. The fact that he wants to eventually expand over to the right side and has now 0 creep spread, that's scary. So he actually probably would want to pull back a couple of queens to really push the issue here. It would not be too unreasonable for HeRoMaRinE to push from his 3rd to this base. Well, probably not that base, to be honest. I think that's why Reynor isn't too concerned. The corner base probably isn't under threat this base a little bit more so, right? This is where a lot of Terrans are going to push in. From this angle or from that angle, either one. HeRoMaRinE pushes from the left. Already is forced to retreat. Question is, how is he preparing for the next stage of TVZ? 4th CC has been turned into a planetary by now, as I was talking about nothing. 5th CC is on the way. 3-3 has started up, and Ghosts are already producing. Funnily enough, his Ghosts are so fast that we haven't even had a Marauder transition yet. He's been pure Marine. We do usually see Marauders, then Ghosts, and not just because of like an economy issue, but usually because you do want Marauders and Ghosts. So this is different. Big old pickup there. Looks like this drop just kind of tucked itself into the corner. Reynor was aware of it. He's trying not to F2 his army away. The medevac drop is going to skedaddle. Maybe try elsewhere. HeRoMaRinE is, again, not making much headway. Even taking some banelings to the face there. But if Reynor can feel like he can win the game, I think he'd be wrong about that. Actually, I think HeRoMaRinE dangerously close to going too much into Ghosts. They do get overwhelmed. Unit to... Oh, whoa. A couple more banelings and you have 5 or 6 Ghosts dead there. You know, Ghosts up against a handful of Lings or a handful of banelings, actually very effective. They soak a lot of banelings. They kill Lings pretty quickly. Ghosts against the entire tide of the Zerg force, not so good. Not nearly as good as Widowmines. They gotta be careful about that, but it looks like he's alright. Now HeRoMaRinE is adding in both Marauders and Ghosts, which are gonna add that chunk. They still aren't gonna help take care of mass Ling. Marauders are just about... Well, they're worse, actually, than Ghosts at killing Lings, but... They're gonna add chunk. Soak up the banelings on the front lines. At the very least, soak up the banelings after the split so that the Zerg wastes a few more. No tanks, also. So HeRoMaRinE... A couple things are going differently than we see, like maybe Maru play. I'll get into in a second, because Reynor apparently wants to engage. I think, yeah, maybe getting a little overconfident now. The last engagement, I think he saw what I saw. I was like, oh, this might be something I could overwhelm. Not quite correct this time around. HeRoMaRinE reinforced very quickly. He's got even more units all bundled together too, so he's not going to overwhelm them. Yeah, no tanks. We usually see Maru, right, have like a couple of tanks that are protected by planetaries and kind of vice versa as well. Planetaries protected by tanks, but HeRoMaRinE not going for that at all. Good concave here. Very good concave. I mean, probably the biggest concave you can have on Hardwire. A couple of the units ran into a planetary, a couple over here, a couple over there. HeRoMaRinE takes a pretty good fight, but Reynor has just taken the entire map. He's got all the bases. He's got all the technology. He's been holding off and building the lurkers, by the way, I guess until he has both upgrades, which he does now have. Now he's getting 2 Nidus Worms. Instantly up to 12 lurkers, always a fright. And the Overseers have plenty of opportunity to get into the main base, 3rd base, 4th base. Actually, a lot of Nidus Worms can go up anywhere and be truly threatening. TLDR, I think HeRoMaRinE is going to die. I think he is. There are very few players who can combat a Zerg even when things look like they're pretty even. Because what really has gone that poorly for HeRoMaRinE, as in he's taken damage? Nothing, right? He got his 4th CC, he's got his extra command centers, he's even taken a couple okay fights. Any fights that were bad were not really all that bad. Negligible, but he hasn't stopped the Zerg. He hasn't killed the Zerg. So... that's getting a little scary. For the Zerg to get into this position, feels like Maru's the guy who can actually combat them. Everyone else just tries and fails. Especially with Reynor, you know, not to make this a race thing, like, clearly Terran's underpowered in this position, but I think in this particular game, you are still looking at the person ahead of the class, you know? Like, everyone else will catch up eventually. Hopefully the professor gives everyone a curve, you know? But right now, there's one guy who's being the smarty pants and making everyone else look bad. But everyone else will eventually catch up. And then you also have Reynor, who just is really good. And he's probably feeling it today. This has been very crisp, good Zerg play to defend and maximize profit in the beginning. That was good. Then to hit HeRoMaRinE with this triple, quadruple whammy, that's good. It doesn't actually kill HeRoMaRinE, though. To be fair, HeRoMaRinE handled that with as much grace as he possibly could. But he did still lose his third CC, and it's hard to say they'll ever get this position back. With Nidusworms being able to pop up wherever the hell they want. Lurkers to burrow, Lings to run by, Banelings to explode on planetaries, whatever. You name it. It's going to be hard for HeRoMaRinE to know exactly where to send what units. Because the Sensor Tower will tell you where they are, it won't tell you what the units are. So here we have another example. Lurkers over to the right side, Banelings and Lings over to the left. Pretty much fully upgraded. Nidusworm in the main. And now the natural, and some ghost snipes are going down. That's not bad. That's not bad. It's still so much chaos. So much. And ultimately, HeRoMaRinE does die from all this. If he had something going on this side of the map, it's a little bit more of a contest, but ultimately he does. What's the APM on this kid? Jesus Christ. Reynor's average APM is 500. That's actually really impressive. I know it's inflated for a Zerg player with the creation of Banelings, so I can't say if that actually is impressive, to be honest. I don't usually check the APM ever of pros, but I feel like it's still impressive. This kid is playing fast. Good split there at the last second, but the Banelings still find a lot of good collisions. Good pullback on the Lings, too. The Banelings really what's going to be scary there. And the Lurkers pop back from the Nidusworm and are going to defend back at home, and there you have it. TVZ between these two guys. Ends with a bit more explosiveness than I gave it credit for. You know, this actually looks like it could be doable for HeRoMaRinE, but is it really? Is it, though? I don't think so. Reynor is starting to really struggle, though. Could this actually be the game-winning move? HeRoMaRinE blitzing through the middle of the map on top of creep into Ling, Baneling, Lurker, but not max out. Ling, Baneling, Lurker? Haha. Might just be. Reynor's out trying to collect his army, make sure it doesn't get picked off as it's coming through all the eggs, right? All the rallies. And it's not quite working. Now he's going to come in from every angle, but that actually might be a deficit for him. Drones are going down. Some Widow Mine's going to burrow. Reynor is dangerously close to losing this game. I don't think he will, but this was so much closer than it was supposed to be. And I think now Reynor has got it on hand. Like, he's got it on lock. It's fine. 5 Lurkers about to turn into 10. And HeRoMaRinE has lost all but 2, 3 of his ghosts that now have no energy. Medevac's also have no energy, so every stem's going to hurt here. And HeRoMaRinE did a whole heck of a lot of damage. He depleted Reynor's bank, he took down drones, he took down bases. If HeRoMaRinE had been actually recovering his economy back at home, if he was producing 7 SCVs at a time, oh, he's already recovered. But in order to do what he did, he couldn't do that. He couldn't do both. He couldn't attack, continue the aggression, continue the momentum, and build up an economy back at home. So, it's all right. GG. That's a scary Zerg player to go up against, tell you what. Thought HeRoMaRinE had transferred Age of Empires 4? Did HeRoMaRinE ever play Age of Empires 4? I guess he must have, because everyone played it for the first couple of weeks. But there are very few StarCraft people who actually fully transferred Age of Empires 4. There's like Marine Lord. Successfully transferred as a pro player. The Muslim, I would say, is almost there, but... He's still casting StarCraft. I actually can't think of any other StarCraft players who are still doing Age of Empires. BC Cutie, I guess, is another one, but BC Cutie was very much a streamer. But, you know, still, he did transfer. I'm thinking of, like, professional players. Not many. Professional commentators, we're a little more flexible. We can get away with doing multiple games, even if we're not playing all the games. Yeah. It seems like that hype train is kind of choo-chooed its way away from us. It was at one point a roaring? Warwing. The World train passing by our apartment window, being loud as hell, has now tuned into a little toot-toot as it kind of just bypasses us. Game 2, Curious Minds, bottom right, Reynor, top left, HeRoMaRinE. HeRoMaRinE tried to, not out macro Reynor, but he chose a build that would accept going into the late game and then could not play the late game as well as Reynor. That is actually it. I mean, you can go into a lot of things. You could even bring up balance if you guys wanted to. But I think at the end of the day, it can really be chalked up to that. Does HeRoMaRinE lose every time? Is he truly the worst player of the two? So many things change on a day-to-day basis. I'd say it's really hard to just say that for fact 100%. But at some point, you know, the facts do enter. And if Reynor is beating this guy the last 15 times, then you'd say factually Reynor is better, but I don't think that's actually the case. In fact, HeRoMaRinE beat Reynor last time they played DreamHack Last Chance tournaments, where Reynor was very underwhelming. He lost out in groups. So did HeRoMaRinE, to be fair, but you know. Roachborn's coming down. But Reynor, you know, this is what happened last year. He was not doing so hot in the tournaments leading up to Katowice, and then he started to really put in a lot of work and a lot of practice. And from all accounts that I've heard, he's very much a player that depends on his practice and his motivation. And he just kind of skyrockets up. He shoots up. He might even really benefit from the amount of casual takes he has in the tournaments previous to Katowice. So the Roach Warren coming through is Reynor really mixing things up. Obviously, it's not something we've never heard of, but cheeses from a Zerg, certainly more rare than their attempt to macro. HeRoMaRinE does not pick up on the Roach Warren. He picks up on the Lings, though, and you gotta wonder, later hatchery, what could that mean? He sees the Roach early, very, very early. His factory's not even done. He can actually add a tech lab instead of having to do the weird, oh shit, swap. But Reynor's also not doing a lot here. He's not looking for a ton of damage. It would have been nicer if he had not been scouted. You go, little Reaper. I believe in you. The defense has been had. It's already defended, I can tell you that, without the actual units even engaging with each other. But now the question is, how much can Reynor capitalize on it? How much can the macro catch up? How much can he throw HeRoMaRinE off? 2 supply depots almost always forfeit in this situation. Actually could save the second supply depot. That wouldn't be too bad. Reaper's gonna get across the map and scout whatever is gonna be the follow-up, and it's a very important question to have answered. No third hatch, bit suspicious. No, I didn't save the roach quite. Now he sees the third hatch, so you go from panic to calm. But you really don't want to throw anything out of the possibilities. If the guy's going to be 1 base, well, 2 base roach rushing you, then there's a lot of things you can do. And, you know, fast Spire follow-up is usually something only ladder Zergs do. Bad ladder Zergs. Sometimes the pros do it. I like this. HeRoMaRinE getting just a single medevac with a handful of Marines. So the only way he's really going to be able to do damage on the other side of the map, he could have gone on the Banshees immediately, but Queens probably handle everything. But I like the addition of the medevacs. Then into the Banshees, now you're going to have potential to pair them up even. I think that'd be quite scary. Third CC at the front, totally seen by the Overlord. Not much you can do about that, unless you wanted to lift a barracks or something. Speaking of barracks lifting, we do have what looked to be a possible intention to transfer over into Stim. And then he decided, no, actually, I'm a bit worried here. And I think he should be. There is a chance that Reynor tries to pull the trigger again. It'd be a very odd follow-up attack, but since speed is done, if HeRoMaRinE did not have a wall, he would have taken damage. Eventually would have cleaned it up because Banshee couldn't be killed, but he'd take a lot of damage in the process. So I think he realized, he was like, oh shit, wait a second. So he emergency got the wall down, brought his production back online instead of using it to build tech labs and whatnot. And then calmed himself down once he realized, okay, I don't have to worry about it anymore. But I do think you have to respect that Ling speed follow-up, just in case he's... It's a kind of a foolish way to die. You feel like a fool. You die to 20 speedlings getting into your natural and an otherwise well-defended cheese, but it happens. Anyway, so now he's transferred over. He's used his factory to produce reactors, so his barracks can produce that much faster. He's getting everything slapped down all at once and upgrades as well. Reynor, despite going into speed, bothering to get speed, actually going to go into roaches and perhaps pure roach. So not like Ravager Baneling Ling, but just actually a 1-1 roach push. Good save on that drone. Significant damage on the Banshees. They're not going to find very much more. So 4 drones for the 2 Banshees, plus the medevac drop. What's the resources lost here? Better for Reynor. HeRoMaRinE doesn't stop on Widow Mines at all. I think he knows what situation he's in, what map he's on, what possibilities there are, and one of the very strong possibilities is that it's going to be roaches, so he just produces tanks right off the bat. Still tricky to defend this 3rd CC. Brought it up before. I do think Terrans have figured out how to defend the 1-1 roach push on this map, despite the humongous concave opportunity of the roach player. I still think it's a bit difficult, and you can very easily make too big of a mistake. Doesn't look like Reynor's going to go for that 1-1 roach all in. He is adding on not just a Baneling Nest, but also an Infestation Pit, so he's kind of pivoting over into the Ling Baneling Ravager. At this point, Reynor's creep spread is again kind of out of control. His macro, his drone count's not that bad. And really, it's not even that good. HeRoMaRinE, only 6 workers behind, actually has a better economy. So, Reynor, I think he did perhaps build too many army units. I mean, that's really the only other thing he would be doing, right? It's either army units or drones. So it's a bit of a simple statement, but still, probably could have built up his drones a bit faster, fourth base a bit faster, chose to defend, and he pushes first. It wasn't really a super fast push. Now there's a push on the way. And now is the question of, does Reynor have the ability to hold against it? We all know the way that Zergs want to play a game is they want to get drones first, then army. When you do both or out of order, then sometimes you're left in an awkward space, exactly as we see here. Reynor did not have enough army. He was actually building drones as the push came through. And that creep spread on the right side did not help him one bit. Big Ling counterattack is cool, but it actually is met by a decent number of units, and HeRoMaRiNE's gonna take this game easy peasy lemon squeezy. Not one of Reynor's stronger games, that's for sure. Yeah, his attack really did not work so well. GG. His roach attack was scouted super early and defended, and he even took counter damage thanks to the medevac drop. But I still thought there was a way out of it. But he was totally unprepared. Underprepared for the push. Totally. What the? Oh, I was gonna say, I saw someone with the announcement, piss off Wardy. It's a Reynor's announcement. What is the Pro Player Lessons Fund for? I am getting professional players to teach me StarCraft, not to play, but rather to cast better. And as I am paying them what I think is a fair rate, especially in today's freelance market, I thought, you know, it'd be nice if people contributed, but not necessary. In the top right, we have Reynor. Bottom left, it is HeRoMaRiNE. One of those such lessons is up on my YouTube. I've already done 3 others. One with Vindicta, a Laser, and Gemini, who isn't a pro player, but he studies the heck out of Trap. It's kind of crazy how much he knows about Trap. Favorite stage of a game? I guess mid-game. It's probably most people's answers. So Reynor was the one to really change things up on Curious Minds. Again, did not have the most effective opener, but I didn't think it was super ineffective. I think if he had pushed the drones in the 4th base faster, then made the roaches and ravagers, I think he might have been able to actually walk that Zerg tightrope and win. Win maybe is a strong word. Maybe he holds and we'll see what happens afterwards. But he didn't. He had no idea the attack was on the way either until it was already on his doorstep. But that was Curious Minds. Kind of seen, I think, as a Terran. You know, the Terrans don't mind the map. They like it. it actually is statistically favorable towards Zerg, but those statistics are always, you know, what games are we really talking about? We're talking about only games sampled from the top 10 players in the whole world. That's very different than games taken from the top 200 players in the world, so on and so forth. Anywho. Glittering Ashes is no doubt a map that Zergs like, and Terrans can be quite scared of. Some Terrans obviously don't mind it. We're playing on it right now. HeRoMaRinE let it through. But it's a big map. It's a very big map.
Twitch Prime sub
Thank you for the Prime sub.
HeRoMaRinE.
Clem Max Packs is done. Clem waits in the finals. So this Overlord's actually going to sneak on by the bottom side. Doesn't really sneak, actually. It's a giant elephant in the sky, and the SCVs definitely saw it. But still, there's nothing that HeRoMaRinE can do about it, so he could try and bamboozle. If he was building an armory, he'd go, wait, I'll build it over here. But he's not. He's going for a third CC. If he does put a Marine down to the bottom, it still would be able to scout the third CC. If Reynor wanted to. So with Reynor putting his Overlord over here, he absolutely would want to dip its head in to see what the hell is going on, because it's actually lacking crucial information on the front lines. The lack of supply depots could tell you it's a third CC. Whether it's Hellions, how many Hellions? Are there Marines being balled up? All things that Overlord at the front would see. So it's not like he can just leave it at the back and be like, I'm fine, I'm okay. So finally we have the Suicide. And you'll see that it is one of the more basic, greedy builds. Not the greediest. Definitely not the greediest, but it's a 3cc build into the 111 Viking and Liberator. And I'm gonna guess 6 Hellions, if not 8. I think he went for a total of 10 in the first game. Good block there from Reynor. So easy peasy. Woo! Aurajax for the 50 bucks. Damn. Thank you. Always love your cast. Awesome game knowledge and personality. Keep up the great work. I really appreciate that. Thank you for supporting. I always like the kind words as well. If all you can do is a kind word and being a cool person in chat, that is always appreciated. That's what makes Twitch chat and streams work, really. But I'm not gonna lie. People who are capable of monetarily supporting, well, you guys make this stuff possible. Thank you. Alright, so this is again 8 Hellions? I feel like he went 10 last game, but I might have just miscalculated because he lost 4, and I thought I saw 6 on the map, but it might have been 4, lost 4 on the map. So okay, 8. That is a feisty number. That's a number that if you lose track of them, you could get killed. You could lose too many drones. You could straight up die. But you're probably not going to lose track of them. And no Zerg is playing so greedy as to only have Lings or only have Queens for defense. They're going to have some Lings ready. One Overlord is going to die. I was going to say it doesn't have to. Transfuses are available. Viking gets 1 Overlord and that's it. Hellions get a couple of creep tumors, and that's it for them. We don't expect much more. Queens are on their tail, and Reynor already takes a 4th base. So Reynor going into super macro mode, much more like the first game. Let's remember that first game. It wasn't... I guess, you know, stop is way too harsh of a word for that first game. They both played well, and then Reynor played better for about 4 minutes. Then he almost screwed up. And then he won. But it was those 4 minutes where Reynor was playing better, where he was just everywhere at once, attacking HeRoMaRinE from all different directions. It's hard to think of Terrans who would play up to that. And the only one you can really ever think of is Maru on a really good day. So we're scared. We're scared of that. We're scared of HeRoMaRinE doing the same thing, 3cc, Liberator, 8 Hellions, 2 drops to the right, 2 drops to the left. 4th CC at 7 minutes. Was it 8 minutes? 8 minutes was it? It was 8 minutes. And then getting to the late game and Reynor being just out of control. Even though HeRoMaRinE had one shining moment where his attack looked like it was going to do some serious damage, he ultimately did not win with it. So we can't... If you're HeRoMaRinE fans, you just don't want that to happen again. You want some of these earlier pushes to actually do damage. It's a bit tricky. HeRoMaRinE uses his Hellbats not with the first 2 medevacs, but rather off on their own. So Reynor not quite prepared. He also sends 2 medevacs with them? Oh, look at that. Reynor wasn't quite prepared, but he was prepared enough. He loses an Overlord, he gets supply block. It's a temporary supply block, though. And he's still continuing on with his upgrades. He is missing his Infestation Pit by the looks of things. Well, not missing. Hydrosen. Hydrosen is what I meant, not Infestation Pit. But it was, I thought, later? I might be wrong about that. It is another 8-minute CC from HeRoMaRinE, though. I did remember talking about that. Thank you, Sovereign, for the tier 1 gifted sub, as well as 47 is for the 1,000 bits and the cute little emote. Thank you very much. Alright, so the push over to the left side, I could see how it was going to work. It's actually kind of cool what HeRoMaRinE did there. A little bit of the pressure over to the right side, yes. A little bit of that distraction tactic, but basically kind of opened up a little bit of a wound to the left of those Hellbats. They were so just surprising. And he tried to kind of dig his finger into the wound a little bit, but Reynor actually was ready for it this time around, or almost ready. A couple of those low queens do get sniped at the last second. But ultimately, Reynor still holds. His Hydros then is done, but now I would say that his Infestation Pit is a lot later. Reynor is not getting away with nearly as much as last time. His Ling Bailing is not clearing up these messes nearly as fast as they were in the first game. Which is not to say that he won't win this game. It's just, it's going to be a little more of a struggle. This is the struggle that HeRoMaRinE wanted to force Reynor to have before we talked about Lurkers and Nidus Worms. Is that he was actually kind of going, oh shit, do I have enough Banelings? Oh shit, my queens died. Oh shit, I lost creep spread over to the right side, so I don't know what's happening over there. That's much better. And even though Glittering Ash is another humongous map where Terran's push is going to be 5 seconds later than, you know, Curious Minds, on the flip side, it's also a humongous map with so many different attack paths that a Zerg player is going to be stretched pretty thin in their attempt to creep spread everywhere and defend everywhere. Dr. Sidewinder, thank you for the 78 months. So Reynor not being able to simply clean this up, push it far away, and continue. Oh, okay, well, that's my bad here, HeRoMaRinE. All right, so he cleans this one up. Prior to that, he wasn't doing a great job, or as good of a job as last time. Well, he just cleared everything up, so never mind. As it is, though, HeRoMaRinE, you know, the drop to the left cleared up entirely. That kind of sucks. His drop to the right, and now push the right. It has opened up an opportunity. The creep's gone. The hatchery had to be stalled. It was going to go down, and then he decided not to go for it. And now the creep up the middle is already becoming an issue. Liberator siege up. This is much better. HeRoMaRinE's actually got a little bit of momentum on his side. Reynor just can't freely go up to Lurkers and a billion of them at that. He is getting to Hive. He's getting to Lurker Den. But he is forced to panic a little bit more. And now he's even trying to go for a little bit of an attack to pull the pressure away from his front lines. Not a very successful one, though. But now it can turn into a surround. So HeRoMaRinE has to be a little bit mindful of that. Reynor is missing that crucial creep spread that would make a surround a lot scarier. So it's very possible HeRoMaRinE sees the surround and just picks up and leaves. There you go. There it is. Thank you, 47 is for gifting a sub. Oh, this surround looks pretty good. It's just that HeRoMaRinE has still an exit path with no creep spread. So it doesn't turn into the best surround possible. Might still be an okay fight. Now all the Banelings are gone. So many Marines are left over. It's like when the concave and the split's happening from the Terran side, doesn't feel so bad, but as your banelings dissipate and you start counting the Marines left over, you realize what looked like 10 spread out was actually 30 when they clump back up together. And that's, well, that's often when a Zerg player dies, actually. Is when they throw all the banelings away, think, okay, I can do this, and then suddenly it's 20 Marines left over, and those 20 Marines can actually carry the momentum to win the game. In this case, the Lurkers were on the way, and they are great at stopping momentum. They might not win the game, they might not bring things back to even, but they do stop the momentum. They force the Terrans to say, okay, Lurkers, different tactic, different composition, different attack path, different, you know, fight engagement type, even to begin with. It's very different. So I'd still say that HeRoMaRinE is playing better. He's just in a better position in general. From that first game, it actually feels like he's got something to say in game 3. Where on game 1, Reynor slapped duct tape over his mouth and was like, shh, child, shh. Just sleep. Thank you, 47ers, for the 500 bits. And now we have the break through the middle of the map. Now Pirates take out that Liberator, but again, off creep, you're going to worry about your actual trade efficiency. Does look like that's all right enough. HeRoMaRiNE's got another hit squad over the left side, but Reynor predicting this as a pretty good set of units. Okay, there's a bit of an F2 maybe there. Realizes the Lurkers could get concaved on, puts him in a better position before focusing on the attack, of which now Reynor fully on the attack, left and through the center. Command center is canceled. Liberators handle the middle by the looks of things. And those banelings, they can only kill SCVs, 7 SCVs, that's not too bad. Some Lurkers caught in the retreats better, actually, than those 7 SCVs, that's for sure. But HeRoMaRiNE is now entirely out of position. He's got 1 planetary with no upgrades. No building armor, no high-sec auto tracking. And that is potentially a weak point. You know, in the first game, I brought up the lack of tanks. And while tanks are not the end-all be-all defense, because we see Kier try the same thing and he also dies, this is generally where it seemed to be, you know, good. 2 tanks helping out, protected by a planetary, protected by the bio army. But it might not matter, actually. Even though HeRoMaRiNE has been putting out fires left, right, and center, it turns out that the fires are still going to engulf his house, burn down his bedroom, all of his family treasures gone, as Reynor kind of just hits the right time there. I actually thought HeRoMaRiNE would eventually stabilize, but you look at the supply and you're like, oh, JK. That was too bad, because that was such a... It was a better game. It was such a more contested game. And I think Reynor was sweating a little bit. Hello, Nug Nug. You get to see how Katowice plays out. The fact that it's going to be offline is going to be weird, man. I have to get used to it. Bam, 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 bam. Now let me get the players in the right slot. And game 4 is going to end up on Berlingrad, which is good news for those wanting a game 5. This is a very good map for Terran. Top left, it is Reynor. Bottom right, it is HeRoMaRinE. It's a nasty map for Zerg. They get pushed pretty quickly, and there's a very, very brutal spot. There's a deadly domino effect on this map more than any others. Curious Minds has a bit of it, but I think Berlingrad's still worse. So it's a short map, and it has this attack path. The Terran pushes, and once they've broken up to the high ground, the Zerg has to back away. And the Zerg stand here on their 4th or 5th base, whatever it is doable, but complicated. It's a bit of a choke. And then if they are simply put out of position or underprepared and they lose the high ground battle, they lose access to their base over here, and they're the ones on the low ground all of a sudden, well, they just lose the game. It's basically what happens. So I'd actually say a lot of the time this matchup on this map is all about whether or not a Zerg is prepared by the time the Terran tries to go up the ramp. It is actually what it boils down to a lot. If it is such a game that it is a normal game, nothing substantial has happened, and there's like a typical Terran push. It's like 7 minutes. You know, everyone to tell me what their favorite muffin is. That's a good question, actually. I really like banana nut muffin. Yeah. Sometimes, though, I feel like the bakers get overeager and they put like a shit ton of sugar. Like they're really like fake sugar on top of them, and they just make it like candy. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted. And I don't like the texture of that sugar either. Thank you, Aurora Lock, for the 2 months. Hello. On occasion, I prefer blueberry. Yeah. I think of all my fruits flavored preferences. Ooh, we have a different build going on. Ooh. I think blueberry is basically the highest on the list of like, you're like, what flavor should I get ZombieGrub? Like a muffin, smoothie, medicine, pies. I don't know what else. Blueberry is a pretty safe choice. Yeah.
Resubscription received.
And then to be honest, I can't even think of any other muffin flavors. Like bran muffin? I guess they're alright. Thank you, Sando, for the 11 months. Alright, so the different build. This actually is interesting. I thought it was going to be boring. So 3 racks. This is something that, oh, well, like a year ago, Cure was kind of the guy doing it, and we kind of thought it was a Cure build, but then it turned out that maybe someone else made it, and who cares? Point is, 3 racks can also be a 4 racks, and the 4 racks is a lot more all-in than this. But the 3 racks versus a Zerg has a lot to do with, I guess, subverting expectations. So the Zerg player, first of all, finds a difficulty in scouting this. They see a decent number of Marines at some point through some measure, some means, and they're like, oh, a 2 racks? You know, a 2-1-1? And then, as, you know, depending on the meta, they don't even think about a 3 or 4 racks. Then if they see a lot more Marines than that, or they straight up see the 3 barracks, they go, oh, okay, that's going to be very early, like a lot of early game pressure. Then the trick becomes, do they pull the trigger or not? So the Terran player, it doesn't end with the build being scouted. It's not that type of cheese. But it is kind of cheesy. Because it can win if it is totally unscouted. But the next issue for the Zerg is, are they going to commit? So basically the Terran shows these 20, 30 Marines on the front lines of the creep. Just off of creep. And the Zerg sits there and goes, yes, no, yes, no, yes. And whenever a Zerg is forced to waffle between drones and lings and banelings, they're inherently in the worst spot because the other races can do both at the same time. So that's kind of the trickiness of the build. It still isn't a build that's like staple. It's not as consistent as a good old-fashioned 3cc build, but in a way it can be multifaceted. In this case, HeRoMaRinE blitzes immediately. I don't think this is necessarily the right call if you're scouted, but absolutely a lot of Zerg players will underestimate it or overestimate their defense, and I think that's what happened here. So many queens are going to go down despite how many there were to begin with, and there were some lings to help. And you might look at that and be like, well, why did Reynor not get banelings immediately? Well, again, if the Terran just goes, gotcha, you know, you built a billion queens and 12 banelings and 30 lings and then just keeps off the creep, you're like, well, shit. Okay, hold on, let me go back to drones. So it's complicated. HeRoMaRinE does a lot of damage right there. Kills 5 queens, 30 lings, does lose 23 marines to be fair, so the numbers actually don't look that bad. But we consider the rippling effects of denying Zergs their queens, creep, larva, so on and so forth. It can be truly devastating. Devastating enough is always the question. Yes, I think it was good enough. In fact, I'm going to say good enough is a pretty perfect way to sum it up. I don't think anyone's necessarily in the lead. Reynor had to stall drone production to even get the defense that in the end wasn't quite enough, but wasn't too bad either. You know, he lived. The drones never got under fire. The hatchery didn't die. That would have been the real catastrophe. But HeRoMaRinE, as I was saying, you know, he can build both Marines and SCVs. So he's still macroing himself. I will say the creep spread is still getting out of control. That's disturbing. Fruit muffins are top tier. I do like chocolate chip muffins on occasion. I think 47 is right. You have to be in the mood. Apple muffin? No, I don't think so. Apple cinnamon muffins? Pretty good. Now, this was a very good cleanup. That tank did not anchor HeRoMaRinE's position as much as he was hoping for. Reynor did a great job of actually getting us around. I think it's less to do with the setup and more to do with the... Ooh, good focus fire there. More to do with the Zerg's balance of lings versus banelings. Too many lings, you don't kill the Marines. They just hole up and snipe all the banelings. Too many banelings, you never get to hit the Marines. They never get captured. The tank just kills all your banelings too. So there's a balancing act there. HeRoMaRinE's finally going to get to denying some of this creep spread. He is still in a very committed position. He does not have double engineering bay. And he wants to do more damage than he currently has. But I think he still has the potential to do that damage. It's interesting that Reynor chooses this game to go for a pretty quick burrow. We've seen that addition in very macro-oriented games, especially from Cyril lately. It's like burrow is now an instinct for him around 7 or 8 minutes. But usually not in a game where it's so contested and so different. So I wonder if he is going to plan on baneling bombs. The funny thing is, the more he has creep spread, the less effective his baneling bombs are. Yeah, a little too deep there. A little too deep. Bluebird is coming out for harassment. Looks like HeRoMaRinE is going to push. No, well, not push really. Just continue harassing and clearing up creep spread, and then actually trying to get a macro set up behind it. So double engineering bay, eventually 4th command center. I do like this position for Reynor because I feel like it's taken the issue of the defense of this high ground out of the equation, actually. It's not the big one big push with Woodham mines and tanks and like a maxing out Terran army that can be hard to stop even in the best of situations. There's a lot of other factors that went into this game, so that we're not even talking about that push anymore. Here we're trying to left side instead. This isn't a terrible fight, I guess. There's enough Marines left over and all the tanks are here, but this run by doing some pretty serious damage. There aren't enough Marines to stop the flow of Lings, which jump on top of the tank, jump on top of the production, jump on top of the SCVs. And HeRoMaRinE is pretty much SOL at this point if Reynor has Banelings. Now, Reynor's Baneling count is quite low, but okay, yeah, he's gonna tap out anyways. GG. Yeah, I feel like that creep spread was just out of control, actually. There was not a lot of momentum past the first attack.